So we are going to move over into our lessons folder, and inside of lessons folder we're going to go to photo restoration. In this folder we're going to have a example picture that we can use, and so once you open up that picture we just want to save it somewhere. So I'm going to save it on my desktop right here, so photo for restoration. Save it somewhere that I can remember, and for me that's always the desktop. So now we can open up Photoshop and we can open up that picture. So I'm going to go to File, Open, Photo for Restoration, and go ahead and open that picture. So once we have it here, we're going to have one layer, and that's the background layer. But I'm going to go ahead and unlock this layer, and then I'll change the name from background layer to layer 0. And the steps are pretty simple. It just takes a little bit depending on how fast your computer is. But what we're going to do is we're going to come over to Filter and Neutral Filters. So neutral filters are just working with what's there. It's not necessarily distorting or adding anything. So we're going to click on Neutral Filters. And once this loads, we're going to have a number of different things that we can do to this picture. First one that we want to do is come all the way down here to Photo Restoration. And I'm going to turn this on by clicking this little radio button right here. And down here at the bottom, you can see that it is processing this picture. So it hasn't done anything, right? All it's done is process the picture. It said it's done processing. But what we need to do is come over here to scratch reduction. So all of these little folds or all of these white pieces that have had the original color fallen off of them for whatever reason, that's what we're working with right here, is scratch reduction. So I'm going to turn scratch reduction up to about 40, and we'll wait for this to process, and we'll see how it looks after it's done processing. So just give it a little while and wait for the processing to end. Okay, so it might have taken you a little bit longer to do this if you're working on one of the school computers, but for the most part it did a fairly decent job. We can still see some parts that we might need to fix, and we can definitely do that. You can work with some of the other filters in here, photo enhancement. It might help a little bit, but not too much. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here to colorize. So colorize is another neutral filter, and we'll just turn that on and it will go ahead and colorize that picture for us. There are some things that we can kind of work on in some of the adjustments. Noise reduction might help a little bit. So if there's some graininess, it'll kind of help smooth out some of that graininess. Artificial color reduction. So it tries to guess the colors, and so if we turn this up to 100, we can see that a lot of the colors have become really muted and have fallen back into that kind of grayscale or sepia tone. But if we bring this all the way back, we can see that it is pretty vibrant. I think it does a decent job of trying to think about what colors these actually might be. Here I think the lips are a little bit too pink, and over here there's some weird stuff going on with the ear, but all things that we can kind of fix a little bit later on. So you can always make some of these small adjustments if you want. So the important part is after you have the photo looking fairly close to the way that you want it to look, you will have to come down here and click OK. You can output to a new layer. You can even output to a new layer that is masked. And so if you do want to remove some of this stuff, you can certainly do that. So let's go ahead and do new layer masked and hit OK. We'll see what that looks like. Great, so here's our picture. Here is our mask, and there are the adjustments that have been made. And then there is our layer that has nothing affecting it. So this is a good thing, right? We have all of our adjustments here, so we can hide this layer and we can see the original photo. So we haven't made any permanent changes to this picture. So we will need to go in here and use some of the retouching tools that we've already learned about, right? So we can use the spot healing brush tool, and we can come in here and work on some of these scratches. Even like on a face, we can adjust, make some fixes. For the most part, it works pretty well. So I want to be sure that we go through and do a good job of touching up all of these little pieces. So for sake of time on this one, I'm not going to do all of them, but just to give you kind of an idea of some of the work that it will take. All right, so we talked about maybe some of the stuff maybe not working as well as we wanted it to. So this was pretty red. The lips, I think, are too red on the man. So what we can do is we can come in here and use our magnetic lasso tool. We can actually select the lips right here. So everything that we kind of want to adjust down in terms of its saturation, we can select, and then we can click on our layer mask. And so if you remember with the layer mask, if we use something that is black and paint over that selection, it will remove the adjustment. It'll remove what's on top, and in this instance, that's the adjustment. So I think we can come over here to flow and drop this down pretty heavily. Actually, might need to drop that down even more. Go ahead and drop opacity down as well. And so we can just paint over it just a little bit, and that'll kind of remove that mask just a tiny bit, so it's not, not as vibrant. We can do the same thing maybe with the ear over here. There is one thing that it kind of messed up on, I think, a little bit. Right here, we can see that there's no color. It didn't do just a great job of adding color right there, but I think for the most part that's okay. So we've gone over how to use the color, or use a layer mask to kind of remove some of the adjustments. Gone over how to use some of the retouching tools, to kind of fix some of these small things that didn't get fixed by the filter that we used. And the last thing that I might go ahead and suggest is using maybe some other tools like the patch tool, for example. We know that this is pretty bad. We don't really like that. We could maybe pull from another place. It might help a little bit, but some of the pictures that you might be using might be too far gone, and so just try your best on restoring these pictures. But I think for the most part, you should be equipped with the tools in your toolbox to get a decent photo restoration completed. So once you're done, you can always go to File, and I would save this as a Photoshop document first. So this is now a Photoshop document. And then I would go ahead and export this as a JPEG. That is what you would probably want to send if you were going to get this printed somewhere, or post on social media for whatever reason. All right, so that is pretty much it on photo restoration, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions.